What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the In the Game podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Clinton. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Joe Tillery. Joe, we've got some gameplay. We've got some footage. We've got 21 minutes of this to break down. Before we get into that, how's your week going? You excited to get up to Vegas?
Dude, I'm ready. I'm excited to see what happens. It's always a good time to be up there and see everybody get ready for the season. So it'll be a good time. But man, this gameplay's pretty sweet. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, Joe is headed over to Las Vegas for the Big 12 Media Days. You can have all that coverage, figure it out, and find it over there at Heartland College Sports. But for this podcast and for this episode, we're diving into what we see for College Football 25 as we got a first look at the gameplay here, and we're just going to jump right in. Guys, this was a lot of fun. So we'll just kind of break some things down as we go through this. But first and foremost, Joe, one of the things that stood out to me immediately with this gameplay was just how crisp things looked on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive animations, the ability to run the football, obviously when you have Donovan Edwards controlling himself in the game, that obviously is going to help a lot, right? But it did look like running the football was something that you're going to be able to do with quite a bit of success in this game, and that hasn't necessarily been the case in a lot of the recent iterations of Madden. So that was something that I took away immediately.
Yeah, I think that's the good way to do it. I think I'm having some Wi-Fi cutouts, so fair warning if I explode here. But man, the rushing attack looked like overpowered isn't even the right word. It looked so smooth to the point where I feel like the tackling dynamic is going to be so much harder that has been led on to this point. So that's kind of where I'd angle as to right now. But man, I'm excited to see it and see how smooth it is.
Yeah, and something else, I'm almost wondering which, this would make a lot of sense, especially compared to like the NFL game as a whole, is college football is faster paced. There's more scoring. Your scoreboards obviously are going to get lit up a lot more often. And I think we're going to see that in this game as well, because it does seem like, this is big. We're watching, obviously, Big Ten versus SEC here, but the second game we get a look at Penn State versus Michigan, and like there were 77 total points scored in that game, and those were 3-minute quarters. And like, I don't know, like you don't see that very often. I'm wondering what the balance is going to look like offensively and defensively, but yeah. At least from what we saw in this video, it looks like there's going to be points galore. But I'm okay with that. I think that's going to be something that's fun, something that we get a chance to, maybe that gives us more opportunities for comebacks, right? Unless you play the 21 dub rule, which it's something that I've been on the good and bad side of several times. So. We'll just have to see. Joe, first question for you. What did you think about this one in particular? I think this play that we're kind of getting a look at, the crispness of this move, man, like this one-step juke. Like if that happens in game, I really honestly don't know if you're playing defense, what you're going to be able to do to defend that right there.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, parting the two defenders, having them come collapse on each other, like, I think he talked about Donovan Edwards talked about it and mentioned this feels like I'm running the football in real life. Like that's what this move felt like. And I think like I haven't felt where like the rushing attack's been. I mean, I was a big Madden guy back in the day, but I kind of eased off once it just got to the same repetitive nature-ish.
Yeah.
But like Madden 16 or so, the rushing attack felt real good, or maybe it was Madden 15 at the time. And then it was drastically different. This felt so much more like if you're in the open space, you can absolutely get around multiple defenders. Like that move just kind of blew my mind to see it. I was like, okay, this is for real. We're not just, similar animations of, okay, you're going down, okay, you're staying up. This was for real.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of got a glimpse there just a second ago of the wear and tear system where they kind of went through what kind of effects you're going to see on a quarterback or on a player whenever they've been used quite a bit. And so here was one with Quinn Ewers. They're talking about like the impacts that this wear and tear system is going to have medium throw accuracy or throw power, things are going to take a hit whenever you've got issues with that. So that'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays. It looks like and didn't really seem as if it had too much of an impact on the game. So, and if that's the case and it's minimal, something that you can tell as part of the game, then that's great. I think that's a really good way of articulating or presenting a realistic simulation of football. But what did you think about the wear and tear system as far as us getting to actually see it in practice?
It was better than I thought it would be, to be honest, and that's a good thing in this case. I think that I went
Yep.
into it thinking it would be overpowered, or maybe not overpowered, it's not the way to say it, but too much in the game, where you'd see Quinn Ewers takes the first sack of the game, he can't complete a 15-yard, slant across the middle. I thought it'd be a little bit like that, but it felt like some good balance to it. I mean, Donovan Edwards took himself out of the game because he had, -7 speed, a couple things we'll talk about later. But it's interesting to see how that is going to be balanced across online games or dynasty mode, where the case is, because it's going to give you more in-game control of, okay, I need to build depth on this team. We can't just have 2 to 3 studs and rely on those guys. So I thought it was actually done pretty well.
Yeah. I love this right here. This is something that I'm one of the people that's been begging for something like this to happen, where you actually have the option of choosing, instead of base alignment, showing what you're lining up as in a defense, you actually have the option to choose one defense as your play and then disguise it by showing another, which is something that you see. It's very common. That's a very common thing that you'll see defenses do. And so for this example in particular that they were showing, it was cover 3, and they actually showed cover 2. So it looked as if the middle of the field might be wide open, and the defender's able to jump a route and get an interception there in the red zone. So really good stuff. Really excited about that. That's just like one of those little features that makes this so promising. Like, it seems as if the development team has really taken the time to listen and put some of these features that we see in the game, and I'm really excited about that. Here is probably the best play of the entire game, or both games that these two played. This is as the clock is running out at half. Donovan Edwards rips off a 55-yarder or something like that. I mean, it was just the all of the moves that go together. Again, that seamless transition between moves and the speed is just where it's at. So I'm excited about that. Joe, the graphics, man, the game, like the experience, the graphics, like this, it's the first real next gen college football game that we've ever seen, but it's the first real next gen football game period that we've seen. What were your thoughts on just like the graphics and the experience it looks like we're going to get with this one?
It just looks beautiful, man. I mean, this is a thing where you watch them play and you're sitting there just with a big smile on your face. It looks so good. I mean, this is a thing
Yeah.
where, you're seeing celebrations right now. There's so much customizability, different things you can do. The whole game as itself just feels so polished and so perfect. I mean, it doesn't feel like, okay, update it, get it out. Update it, get it out. They built this
Yep.
base so perfectly. And I think that's where they're going to rest for a while. So I'm excited to get my hands on it, man. I cannot wait to see it and see all my favorite places in the Big 12 and see different places in the country. Like, being able to see a couple of these different stadiums and see how the crowd reacts and things. It's otherworldly, man. It's awesome.
Here's something that I wanted to definitely make sure and highlight in this video as we react to this. The revamped passing in this game looks like it's going to play a huge role. Really, honestly, went into this a little bit nervous that this was going to be something that was maybe overwhelming a little bit, especially for somebody that has missed the last couple of iterations of Madden that have come out. But I'll be honest, I was really excited about this after hearing the development team kind of talk about it. The two guys there, as they helped you understand what's going on. So the mechanics in the game look as if they're not nearly as strenuous as I thought they were going to be. It looks like it's a pretty simple tap and release for what target of that little meter we're going to press. So you want blue. Blue is going to be your most accurate, most on-time pass. Yellow is slightly less accurate, slightly less on time, and then red is going to be your least accurate and least on target pass there. So what I really like about this, though, is it's realistic in the way that a bad pass isn't 20 yards off target. It's not, you're not skyballing it way over the guy's head by 20 yards and somebody way out of the frame, it makes the interception. What I like about it is it's off target in the sense that it might be slightly behind a receiver or too far out and ahead of the receiver, or it might be over his head, or he may have to stop his progress to come back and catch the ball. I like how it leaves the door open for you to still make a play, but also rewards if there's good defense being played. It gives the defender an opportunity to make a play on the ball as well. So I like that. What were your thoughts on that part of it? Because it does feel like revamped passing is going to be a big portion of this game and what either makes it or breaks it.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It does feel like it's going to be a big part of it, which, spoiler alert for those of you watching, we're going to be a big ground and pound team over here at Kennesaw State when that time comes, because I'm going to suck at passing the football for a bit. But that being said, it does look like, okay, a couple of games you'll get the hang of it. But I'm excited to see how it's balanced, but I mean, you saw a couple in the trailer or in this gameplay breakdown of the off-balance passes or different passes that are behind the receiver that adjust to the football. That's the realism that we've been asking for a long time. So being able to find one that's like aesthetically pleasing and cool and you can get the hang of it not too far off, I think they did a pretty good job with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that balance comes to fruition. But I'm definitely in for, I'm going to throw the ball for an entire practice game to see if I can figure it out. And then eventually when I can't, I'm just going to switch to running the ball, and that's where I'm going to be at. I'm going to be a 25 carry kind of guy across 3 different backs, so we'll figure it out.
I love that. Yeah, it's it looks like something that might take a little bit to get a grasp on, but once you do, some of the ways that you can layer the football with some of these better quarterbacks is going to be, I mean, once you get that figured out and then you can combine that with a good running back, like offenses are going to be unstoppable in this game. It really does feel like. Now, I will say we didn't get necessarily as much in the first game, much of a look at it in the first game, but in the second game, which I'm going to fast forward to a little bit, we get to see home field advantage. We get to see kind of what it looks like as they enter on the field. And this whole entrance, man, is legit. Like I cannot wait to see this in real life with some of the other schools out there, with some of the Big 12 schools. Man, like this is electric. It looks fun. And what was cool about it was Donovan Edwards saying, like, yeah, that's Penn State. Like that's what Penn State feels like. And I was like, okay, yeah, they've nailed this. Like they've done a really good job. You get to see a little bit more defense on this one in this game as far as individual plays. Obviously, the score doesn't indicate that, but I think 3 scores in this game were pick sixes. You see the defensive linemen kind of get to play a role in this. You got to see kind of Donovan Edwards, like his actual football knowledge. You got to see it kind of show. He was kind of one step ahead of the YouTuber that was sent up here to play against him. So, what did you think about like the Penn State, like the lighting in the night game really just like sent this to another level? Like when you add in, like what's cool about this is when you add in what it's going to feel like when Kirk Herbstreit's calling your game on top of, like, dude, it's just going to take this to another level. But what do you think, like just the lighting in the night game for me was just like, it was mind blowing.
It's crazy how they were able to pull it off. Like, it seems like such a minute task to be like, oh, just make the game at night. Then you think about all the stuff that goes into actually programming this game. They did everything. I mean, they talked about so much of this, and you could see, like, this feels like watching a game on TV, legitimately watching Penn State play Michigan in this game. And you hear the crowd chanting, "We are Penn State." You see, the Nittany Lion opening up the big thing. Like, it's so beautiful to see all the intro stuff come to the field. And then you start taking it to that next level of imagine what it's going to look like for all 134 different teams. I mean, you're going to see so many beautiful things across the board. I was breathtaking watching this thing. This was a really, really cool moment to see.
Yeah, and the fluidity of the game is just what continues to show up. Like the animations of not only just catching the ball and continuing to run, but it feels it feels like this game has been made with such uh, intricacy and such delicacy. Like they delicately put together all of these pieces to make it's almost a love letter to college football fans. Like that's what it feels like. And right here, like this is just a perfect example. The the perfect dot there for a touchdown, and then you have the crowd goes quiet around them. Like it just, I don't know. All of the little intricacies just really bring this thing together. Something else that probably isn't talked about a lot. Here's another pick six. I love that, man. Oh,
Let the Superman dive in.
The big thing that really kind of sticks out is the screens, like the transition screens showing like the Big Ten logo, showing Michigan logo, showing the fans, all of these different things. Here's another pick six, big man touchdown. Absolutely love that. It's just really cool to see all of these little things come together to bring like this actual realistic college football game to life. So, parting thoughts before we really just start to wrap this thing up, as we kind of just let this bad boy play through. We have a week left, Joe. Do you have any questions that have yet to be answered that you're just do you have any, are there any things holding you back from this just to being like, all right, this is about to consume my life for the next year?
Yeah, not entirely. I think things like, job and, going to the bathroom and doing other things that you got to do, that's the only things that are going to keep me back. But like other than that, I live in this game, man. This is going to be point A to point B. This is halfway in between. We're right there all the time. Man, everything about this game, you said it. It feels like a love letter to college football fans. I love the environments. I love the energy. It's super cool to see, to me, all the different celebrations. I know that's kind of a small thing, but it adds to that aesthetic of like, hey, you see a replay when you absolutely
Yeah.
destroy your buddy and not cross somebody over, but you just snap somebody's ankles in the open field. These are the things you want to see as a college football fan, and you want to taunt your boys. You want to taunt people you're playing in online dynasty. There's going to be so many great things about this, and man, it's getting here soon. However, this feels like the longest week of my life, and I'm still planning on going to Vegas. So to put that in perspective, it's still going to be a crazy week.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I think one of the things that I am curious about, at least, I wouldn't even really call it a concern at this point because I would imagine that it's going to work out just fine. Is what playing defense looks like. I am curious just how good a good defensive player can actually be in this game, because it does seem like things are really tooled for offenses to take over, which, at the end of the day, that's really what college football does look like. But when you think about it, the last several national championship teams, the best teams on the field, Michigan, Georgia, like those teams defensively have been juggernauts. And so I'm curious to see kind of what things look like from that side of the ball.
I will say, to jump in on you, because I think that's a great point. In this game, you saw a lot of pressure on the defensive front, specifically the 4-down defensive linemen. I think that those dudes are going to be more game wreckers. Like, we didn't see much great linebacker play or how a good safety affects the game. Specifically, those guys kind of commanded the defense. That'll be a question of mine, is how good is the best linebacker, the best middle linebacker in the country relative to the best defensive lineman in the country, or the best strong safety in the country. So I think you're right there with that. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Well, like what is a player like Caleb Downs at Ohio State? Like, what does he look like? Does he really neutralize the field? Does a Danny Stutzman for Oklahoma, does he actually neutralize the field like he does in real games? Or is it just like you're just holding on for dear life when you're on defense? Because I do remember that being the case in some of the some of the former games, and that's fine. Like, that's just, if it's a level playing field and everybody's having to hold on and it's just the last one with the ball wins, like that's just part of the game. I get that. That's almost what it feels like in 2K sometimes. Like when you're playing 2K basketball, like it's a little more difficult to play defensively when you've got somebody that knows what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. So I am curious to see kind of what that dynamic looks like. But as far as aesthetics, as far as what the game looks and feels like we get a peek here at what snow looks like in the game. Like, oh my goodness, man. I just cannot wait. This is 11 years in the making for me. So like I can't wait. I'm giddy at this point, and really it's just like, what do I need to do to make this happen as quickly as possible? So I'm like, I'm trying my hardest just to get through the next week, just like the rest of you. So that's going to do it for us, though. I appreciate you guys checking in and watching with us. This is really probably the last time that we're going to have an episode without actual gameplay to talk about from ourselves. So we're looking at a really short number of days here before we absolutely get the chance to play the game for real. So we can't wait. We're excited about it. Make sure you guys are tuned in here at the In the Game podcast, whether that be on our YouTube channel or over on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you're finding us. Thank you guys once again, and we'll see you guys soon.